Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the 10.5 centimeter Tiger II, which is kind of a paper tank. Now the chassis existed, the gun existed, but they were never brought together. And I wanted to show you this battle, which is I'd say decent battle, because I wanted to show you something for a change. And that is a old tank in the game that I really fancy, that I really love. Now, to get this out of my system, this is an 8.0 battle, because I wanted to actually respade my mouse, but that's kind of a, longer project. And yeah, then I looked at this map and said, no, there are not enough players on this map to make the suffering worth, like driving for 5 minutes with the mouse, which is, I think, one of the slower tanks in the game, and then get one shot by an object 120 from the other side of the map in the first place. So I thought, let's try out Germany's best medium tank. Napalm, this is designated as a heavy tank. Oh, shut up. So the armor on this tank at that battle rating is nothing to write home. It's not terribly bad. The upper frontal plate is still very good. I have no idea what happened there, and I was like, where did the shell go? What happened? And huh? Up until the point that I realized that I actually hadn't fired. And this rate of fire that I kind of had here is actually something that the tank should have by default. If you look into the War Thunder description of the tank, it stands that this tank should have some kind of stabilizer and some kind of auto-loading mechanism, which would make this tank great, because for all intents and purposes it's not as good, in my opinion, as the T-29, but has a higher battle rating. So there is the opinion about it. But I really wanted to show you how I wanted to show you a battle in this tank, and I wanted to just simply tell you that I really love this tank. Now, there is two different types of love in terms of gaming. There are the vehicles that you love because they are absolutely amazing on the battlefield, and there are the tanks that give you a good feeling when driving them. The Tiger II 105 is the later one. Why? Because it looks stunning. It just has the chassis of the Tiger II with the Henschel turret and this really long, good looking gun. It's absolutely amazing. And then there's also the speed. You have practically the same engine as in the E100 and the Panther II, so 900 horsepower for that weight. It's not too bad, really. And that kill. The sound of the gun is just addictive. It's really addictive. It's not so addictive as on the Stu 42, which has the same gun sound because it's a howitzer and not a gun. Even I had to shut up for that shot. So, but you have the same feeling gun-wise as on the Dicker Max. You just click and it feels good. When you kill something in one shot, it's always amazing. But you realize those were all side shots except for the IS-6 that angled his turret, which you then shouldn't do in an IS-6, because that offers you actually a point where even something German can penetrate it reliable. Having said that, how is this tank performance-wise? So, if you don't know this tank because you're new to the game, well, it has 0.3 higher battle rating than the regular Tiger II-H or the premium variant, the SLA-16. It has better mobility. All around the same armor, you have a slightly bigger gun mantle, but that will not really help you. and you really have to pay for the bigger caliber. You have a massively longer reload. You actually have a stock grind on a stock shell that is pitiful in terms of penetration, because it's even less than the long 88's standard APHE shell by around about 20 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. And then the upgraded APHE shell actually is not all that better in terms of penetration. So very often I ask myself, well, performance-wise, what's the tank good for? It doesn't really feel like an upgrade over the long 88's Tiger II. Yeah, that is a question that I still have, especially because performance-wise it should be 6.7, really. I stand by that, and especially with all the up tiers against all the Soviet tanks that just then also get guns in that battle rating range that just ignore even the upper frontal armor of the Tiger II. Well, you kind of see that a lot of the advantages just go up in smoke. Nevertheless, I love this tank. There is a German word for it that is called Leidenschaft. The direct word-by-word translation would be suffering hood, but the direct meaning is passion. I love this tank. I love this tank. But again, it's a different love, like I love the Chieftain when it's hull down and you're just shredding the, you know, T-54s that come at you, and the quick reload and such. The Tiger II in this respect is kind of the opposite, really. But it's the deep satisfaction when it works that really stands out, that really makes a massive difference. When you kill like 5 or 6 Russian tanks in an achievement, you are considered to have done your job. Okay, you have done your job, the tank gives you the abilities and everything's fine. If you get caught in the open and you get one shot even by a completely inferior tank, such as a Hellcat, even from the front through the lower plate, everybody looks at you and says, oh, what an idiot. And this is where the Chieftain has a high frustration potential, especially the Mark X with the steel blue armor. Where can you actually use it? Where can you actually profit from that if so many other tanks that you face just neglect your disadvantage in the first place? And when then your steel blue armor gets penetrated as well, then you just begin to really not like this tank. With the Tiger 105, it was always debatable where its real strength lied. It was more like of a Tiger variant that you really didn't need when it came out, when I first got my hands on it, when the major opponents were the Russians with the IS-2 mod 1944, which was kind of the arch nemesis of this tank and the long 88 because of its bouncy turret front and also the upper frontal plate being impenetrable for this tank. Let me clarify this. The tank did not really feel like an upgrade over the Tiger with the long 88 because you still had to aim for the very same spots that you had to aim with the long 88. And watch this shot. Just hold on for a second and appreciate this shot. You know, I just was thinking to myself, oh yes, that felt amazing. But I have to tell you, this is a shot that you will not make every single day, and for every battle that goes well, you have to pay with 3, 4, 5, even 6 other battles where you have to fight really hard, and there is an Object 120 that just deletes you with one shot from the heat shell or the APDS FS shell, whatever. So this was just a battle that I wanted to show you because it worked, because it was deeply satisfying and it showed the good part about this tank. One tactical aspect is here that I made a cut and I switched and I changed location. Look at the minimap. I am the only tank that is covering the eastern spawn of the enemy and is also trying to somewhat cover C. The rest of our team is kind of spawn pushing the northern spawn, and there was kind of some action going on. But I also wanted to let you know that I also appreciate the fuller gap map design. Now, there is another story that I wanted to tell you about, and that is that a few years ago actually I made some long-range shooting with John Man, a friend of mine, and well, we had some test shooting on Kursk from one side of the map to the other, and you could lob the shells over the central hill where now there is a village. And the longest shot that I guess I made was 5.6, 5.7 kilometers, where I killed a PT-76 on the other side of the river. It was a custom battle, but nevertheless deeply, deeply satisfying. So, and that is the battle in the Tiger II 105, a tank that is really all about passion and admiring the design. The performance is decent, but nothing to write home about. Let's have a quick look at the results, and yes, I have a talisman on this tank. This is why I got for my 5 kills and 1 zone captured 7,437 research points and 30,000 civil lines, of which around about 27,000 are pure profit because the shells are not that expensive. That's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you liked the tank and this match that I showed you as much as I did, and you will appreciate it with a like. Subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the battlefields and in the skies of War Thunder.